Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of you. We are Helix, a digital healthcare startup from Germany that develops easily scalable, robust, and effective solutions for clinical research and clinical care. Our solutions are based on FHIR data standard. Today, I'm presenting you a webinar on FHIR and why we think FHIR is the way forward for clinical data. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Jubin. I work as a business development manager at Helix. Please feel free to send us your questions and queries. We would be happy to answer them. Before we enter into the topic, we need to understand what are the current challenges which are lying around near this topic. As we see from this slide, clinical data is difficult to use. Clinical research and clinical care is not synced. There are fragmented IT landscapes. The hospital information systems are not research oriented. There are missing rights and roles management. There are data silos and there are unconnected therapy data. This leads to unutilized capacities in harnessing health data and bring best outcomes. There's a big need for harmonization of standards and legacy IT. There are many existing standards. However, in practice, they are incompatible, proprietary, specialized, and also many times very expensive. What is FHIR? FHIR is a standard for structured health data that can be processed by machines and humans quickly and also be visualized. It's an international standard which is open source and free. There's a massive support and community adoption. For example, Apple, Google, and many of the big companies or even research networks are adopting FHIR. There's a strong political support. For example, the initial COVID-19 profiles or all the COVID-19 profiles are being supported through FHIR data standard. The basis for personal health record in Germany and in other countries is based on FHIR. The first ever international patient summary IPS is FHIR based. It uses current web technologies. It offers strong APIs for data exchange. If we need to understand the core of FHIR, this slide is extremely important to understand. FHIR solutions are built from a set of modular components called resources. Resource is an instance of a medical concept which is machine readable. The associated metadata is called as profile. Is an associated scheme that validates the instance. Then we have something called bundle, which is a composition of several resources. And then the associated metadata is called as composition, which provides information about how the bundles are built. So for example, if you have data on lung cancer or any other cancer, it would be multiple bundles which are part of it. Then we also have FHIR terminology, for example, SNOMED CT, Ionic, which integrates existing terminology and value sets in FHIR. Then we also have something called Smart on FHIR, which provides authorization and control, or in simple words, who can access which resources. Finally, we have a mapping language which helps to interact and track any of the entities from the data. So this slide gives you an example of a resource. FHIR is easy to read and understand both for machines and humans. At the top, you have general metadata followed by human readable summary, then an URL pointing out to the clinical definition. Lastly, the clinical data is laid out in a standardized way. Why FHIR? Why there is so much focus on FHIR, and this is something which we need to understand. Think about FHIR as atomic modules representing various clinical use data to solve practical clinical problems. The core of the whole idea is that patient is at the center, connected to multiple parameters, for example, finance, workflows, medications, diagnostics, and clinical. All these connections basically enable standardization without loss of flexibility using FHIR. Why FHIR is easy to get started? There is a strong focus on implementation. There's interoperability, which is out of box. Strong foundation in web standards such as XML, JSON, HTTP, and so on. There's support for RESTful architectures, support for seamless exchange of information using messages or documents. Finally, there's also an ontology-based analysis with formal mapping. We need to also have an idea of what are the general use cases which we can think of using FHIR. One of them is FHIR-enabled connecting electronic health record to personal health record, or EHR to PHR. The bidirectional communication between PHR and EHR allows the PHR to be more effective and a valuable tool for both the providers and patients. The data between EHR and mobile PHR is exchanged using HL7 FHIR resources in JSON format. The basic idea being FHIR is at the core of this use case. This use case basically gives you an idea of the whole ecosystem and how the information exchange using FHIR standards can benefit them. FHIR can benefit all stakeholders by capturing data and presenting it in an inter-exchangeable format. Helix FHIR solutions is something what I would like to highlight in the next few slides. The Helix Clinical Integration Hub enables easy use of the FHIR data standard and tooling in a single package. The CIH from Helix is a powerful vertically integrated hub of several FHIR solutions that can be used independently or together. We work together with FHIRly and other vendors and develop our own solutions too, which makes it possible to get started quickly with FHIR and integrate FHIR into your existing IT infrastructure. The Helix solutions brings clinical data quickly to where it is needed in the right time, in the right place. And the core of this is FHIR. As you see from the slide, health apps which have FHIR as the core can be connected to the FHIR server as a part of the hospital or the research groups. Our FHIR mapper solves the seamless integration of clinical data into your FHIR infrastructure. Our FHIR mapper is built on the FHIR mapping language, the first standard for seamless data transformation. With our FHIR mapper, a mapping has to be created only once and can be used by non-developers again and again. All the data formats through CSV, CDA, PCF can be brought in by our FHIR mapper. The FHIR and Helix CIH provides clear advantages, allowing better data sharing, which is auditable, accessible, and web ready. Can be used alongside existing legacy IT, provides higher quantity and quality of data for research, provides better knowledge generation through easier collaborative research and multi-site clinical trials, and finally better data ownership of patients, resulting in higher patient compliance. One of the key examples from Helix is supporting National Network for Genomic Medicine Lung Cancer in Germany, which comprises of 18 university hospitals plus their associated partners. Our platform based on FHIR helps in shared data, collaboration, subject management, molecular pathology, clinical forms, FHIR data networking and storage, and finally secure role and access management. Helix FHIR server and FHIR mapper form the core of our solution for NNGM, allowing seamless data integration into local and central clinical documentation into site and study management. We also tried to design some of the usage scenarios with FHIR and what we can provide to our target groups. One of the key points is integrating FHIR into your own clinic. Local integration is the basis for the exchange with practices, other hospitals, insurance, and pharma companies. FHIR makes it possible to build a modern clinical documentation, allowing structured data collection beyond the boundaries of the health information system, consolidation of data into a FHIR clinical data repository, abolition of the isolation of special diagnostics and special case files, and integration of international terminology such as Nomad CT. Connecting patient files with FHIR and making it useful is one of the key points for many of us to consider, and it's also the future for, for all the companies or for all the stakeholders. Connection of patient apps and electronic patient files to existing home infrastructure is also challenging. Usage of data from health apps and wearables, transmission of findings to EPA, subordinate rights and role management for data access and exchange, Smart on FHIR can all be provided through our offerings. A big challenge for hospitals is to work with different research networks. As we saw with our offering with NNGM, FHIR provides opportunity for shared workflows and multidirectional communication. For this, you need shared FHIR bundles, consent workflows, and so on. The key point here is FHIR makes it easy. Integration of family doctor specialists for clinical studies and structure health data for more efficient allocation management. Key. The involvement of general practitioners or specialists can support further monitoring of the patient easily. Thus, it can also help in better patient recruitment for clinical trials. So, involving them as a key stakeholder can be done using FHIR. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time and participating in our webinar. Please feel free to reach out to us and send us your questions and queries. Thank you.